So this is just a quick little video just to make sure everyone understands what I'm expecting on these graphs where I left it blank for you guys. So I'm going to change these graphs up and make them a little more complicated and show you some examples. So let me just write those out for you guys. Okay, so I changed these. These aren't the ones that you guys have, okay? I'm just going to run through a couple of examples with you guys. So I changed this one to y equal 10 sine 2 of x minus pi halves plus 3. We're going to identify all the pieces. Okay, amplitude is 10. Vertical shift is 3. Period is, this is the frequency 2, that's our b. So I'm going to go 2 pi over 2, which gives me pi as a period. Phase shift is what makes this 0. So we're going to start at pi halves. And what I like to do is I like to know where I'm starting and where I'm ending. Okay, so let me just do that in red. I'm starting at pi halves, that's my start. I'm adding my period, okay, my period right here. Let me just circle it, my period. And instead of writing it as pi, I'm going to write it as 2 pi over 2 so I can have a common denominator. And I'm going to end at 3 pi halves. So this is my start. And this is my end, okay, of my cycle that I'm going to draw. So when I'm not giving you a graph physically drawn out for you guys, I need to see your high, middle, your low. I also need to see horizontally your start and your stop, okay? So let me just draw in my graph, okay? And let's just say I've got here. Now my shift is up to 3, so I'm going to be up at 3. Let me just draw that in. So I'm going to be up here at, let's say that this is 3. Okay, so here I'm at 3. I'm going to be going 10 above and I'm going to be 10 below. Let me just draw that in a different color. Let's say I do green. So if I go 10 above, yeah, let me just kind of extend this up a little bit. Okay, so if I go 10 above, okay, so let's say that that's here, and that's going to be 10 above, which puts me up at 13. And then I'm going to go 10 below this, so that's going to be down at -7. So I'm going to have at -7. So you see my high, my middle, my low. Now I need my start and my stop going across. So my start is going to be at pi halves, and my end is going to be at 3 pi halves. So I'm just going to zoom in for a sec just so I can mark those down. So I'm starting at pi halves and I'm ending at 3 pi halves. And remember, I'm going to need 5 marks. Okay, so these will be my first 2. Then I'll have one in the middle. Then I'll have one in between each of those. So this is sine. Sine, I start at my 0. So I'm going to start, let me just get black here. I'm going to start here. So, whoops, still have my white. Okay, so I'm going to start here at my middle and I end at my middle, and halfway in between, and again, you don't even have to give me the coordinates, I mean the value of that, but halfway in between is going to also be my 0. When I say 0, I mean on my vertical shift. And then halfway between those, I'm going to be going 10 above and 10 below. So I'm going to have 10 above and I'm going to have 10 below. And then I'm going to draw my curve. And there's my sine curve. Okay, so now I'm going to do a cosine one as an example. Okay, so for this one, my amplitude is 8, positive 8, but it is negative, so I want to kind of pay attention to that. Okay, my vertical shift is 20. I'm going to start up at 20. My period, this is my frequency, that's my b, so I take 2 pi divided by my frequency, so it's going to be 2 pi thirds long, but it's not going to be starting at 0, it's going to be starting at pi fourths. So for something like this, I am going to need to get a common denominator so I can figure out where I'm starting and where I'm ending. So let me get that. So I'm going to be starting at pi fourths. I'm going to be going 2 pi thirds away, and that's going to be my end. So I'm going to get this to be 12. So I'm going to multiply that by 3 top and bottom, so I get 3 pi twelfths. I'm going to multiply this by 4 top and bottom, so I get 8 pi twelfths. So I'm going to end at 11 pi twelfths. So I'm going to be starting at pi fourths or 3 pi twelfths because they're the same thing. And I'm going to be ending at 11 pi twelfths. Okay. So let me get my graph here. I'm going to be all the way up at 20. Okay. And then I'm going to be going 8 above and below that. So let me get this drawn. I'm going to scooch it down like that. Okay, so let's say that this is 20. I'm going to move it up a little bit. Let's say that that is 20. Okay. So that's 20. And then I'm going to be going 8 above and 8 below. So let's say that this is 8 above and this is 8 below. So 8 above, I'm going to be at 28. 8 below, I'm going to be at 12. Now I'm going to be starting pi fourths or 3 pi twelfths, whichever way you prefer to write it. And I'm going to be ending at 11 pi twelfths. Okay. So I'm going to be starting at pi fourths. I'm going to be ending at 11 pi twelfths. And this is cosine. So my cosines, I start my highs or my lows. Since it's negative, I'm going to start at my low. So I'm going to start here at 12. I'm going to end at 12. And then halfway in between, I'm going to be at the high. And halfway in between those, I'm going to be at my 0, or in this case, my 20. And here is my curve. Okay. Now, both of these examples, my start and stop are on the same side of the y, on the positive side of the x. Okay. If you are starting on the positive and ending on the positive, or you're starting on the negative and ending on the negative, you don't have to worry about the spacing here. However, if you're starting on the negative and ending on the positive, you want to be careful because sometimes your y-axis may not be one of your coordinates, okay? One of your points. So I'm going to go through one where I'm starting on the negative and I end up on the positive, okay? So last one, y equal 5 times 1/2 of x plus pi thirds minus 10. Amplitude is 5. Vertical shift, I'm going to be down at -10. And I'm going to be going 5 above and 5 below. My period, it's going to be, my frequency is 1/2. Okay, a B is 1/2. So that means really I'm doing half of a sine graph within 2 pi distance. But you can take 2 pi over 1/2. And I really am taking 2 pi times, when I divide by a fraction, I multiply by the reciprocal. So I get 4 pi. Okay, my distance is going to be 4 pi. It's going to be kind of elongated. And then my phase shift, what makes this 0, is a negative pi thirds. So I'm going to be starting at negative pi thirds. I'm going to be going 4 pi, again, 4 pi away. And I'm going to get a common denominator here. Okay, so I'm going to make this into thirds. So that means I'm going to have negative pi thirds plus 12 pi thirds, because 12 over 3 is 4. And I'm going to end at 11 pi thirds. So I'm going to be starting at negative pi thirds, and I'm going to be ending at 11 pi thirds. So I'm starting on the negative side of the x-axis and going to the positive side. Okay. So what I would probably do for this, just to make sure that I'm spacing it properly, I am actually going to be marking thirds. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. First, let me just get my graph, and I'm going to be starting at -10. So let me just drop this down, and I'm going to be going 5 above that. So I'm going to be more in the negative than the positive. Okay, so let me just, and I also need my negative x side, so I need to have over here. So let me draw in my vertical shift. So I'm down here. Let's say that this is negative 10. Okay, so that is negative 10. And I'm going 5 above. So that means I'm going to be at negative 5, and I'm going to go 5 below. So that means I'm going to be at negative 15. And actually, I need to really extend these out this way too. Let me rewrite those numbers. Ah, wrong color. Okay, well, I guess you can see it. So negative 5, negative 10, negative 15. Okay, now in terms of my x's, I am starting at negative pi thirds. So I'm starting on this side, and then I'm going to go to 11 pi thirds. And so you want to be careful because, again, sometimes this y axis is not one of your coordinates. Sometimes it is, but you just want to be careful. So this is going to be negative pi thirds. And then I'm going to have 11 of these is how I personally would probably do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let me just draw my lines out a little bit more. Okay. So this is negative pi thirds. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pi thirds is over here. Okay, so this is 11 pi thirds. Let me zoom in so I can write it. 11 pi thirds. And now I am going to graph this. Okay, so it is a sine. I'm going to be starting at my middles. I'm going to be starting at negative pi thirds. So over here at negative pi thirds, I'm going to be here. And at 11 pi thirds over here, I'm going to also be here. And then halfway in between. So if I count, I know I have 11 here. So this is 1, this is 11, I have 12. So that means I'm going to count 1, 2, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is where my next middle is going to be. Okay, so let me just zoom in a little so I can see this better. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's where my middle is going to be. Now, halfway between these, I'm actually going to be, because it's 6 and 6, so I'm going to be going 1, 2, 3. And it is, what was it? Positive. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. So I'm here. And then here, I'm going to, it helps if I space this a little better. 1, 2, 3, and I'm down here. So you'll notice that this y-axis actually did not, was not one of my points. So you want to be careful when you're scaling it yourself that if you're starting on the negative and ending on the positive, you don't automatically mark this as a point because sometimes it is not. So just wanted to give you guys those quick little pointers. Again, our problems are totally different ones, a little easier, but I'm kind of trying to give you the extremes. Okay, hope this helps.